On the night of April 30th, 1964, Elvis Presley sat in a chair in a hair salon in Los Angeles, and a man he had never met before said something that stopped him completely. The man's name was Larry Geller. He was a hairdresser. He had just taken over from Jay Sebring, whose salon in West Hollywood was where Elvis got his hair done when he was in California making movies. Geller was young, soft-spoken, and not particularly prepared for what happened next, because Elvis Presley, who was 29 years old and the most famous entertainer on earth, looked at this stranger and said, "I have been searching for something my whole life, something I cannot name, and I do not know if anyone can help me find it." Geller did not know what to say. He said something like, "I think I might understand what you mean," and that was enough. They talked for 4 hours that first afternoon. Elvis did not make it to whatever he was supposed to do next. He stayed in that chair and talked. This is the side of Elvis Presley that almost no one discusses, and the people who were closest to him say it was the most real side there was. He was raised in the First Assembly of God Church in Tupelo, Mississippi. His family did not have much, but they had the church, and in the church they had music. Before Elvis understood what music could do for him professionally, before Sun Studio, before Ed Sullivan, before any of it, he understood what music could do to a room full of people who needed something to hold on to. He had watched it his whole childhood. His mother, Gladys, sang in the choir. The congregation moved and wept and called out. The gospel was not an intellectual exercise for the Presleys. It was immediate and physical and real. He never left that behind. Every person who traveled with Elvis Presley and knew him well says the same thing about the nights on tour. Before he went on stage, he was often alone in his dressing room. Red West, who was with Elvis for years as a bodyguard and close friend, said that Elvis prayed for every show. Not a quick routine prayer, something longer, something that looked from the outside like a man having a genuine conversation. The Bible he carried with him was marked, not lightly. He had underlined passages, written notes in the margins, folded corners down on pages he returned to again and again. That Bible is at Graceland today. You can see the handwriting. It looks like someone working through something, not someone performing piety. All 3 of his Grammy Awards were for gospel recordings. 3 times in his career, the Recording Academy chose to honor Elvis Presley, and every single time it was for sacred music. Not Hound Dog, not Suspicious Minds, not Jailhouse Rock. How Great Thou Art. He won a beautiful life. He touched me. The man who changed rock and roll forever won his only industry recognition for singing to God. He told Larry Geller that he felt a calling he did not understand, that the music came from somewhere he could not explain, that the way crowds responded to him frightened him sometimes because it was too much, more than a person should be able to do to other people, and he did not know what it meant about him or what he owed because of it. Geller started bringing him books. This is where the story gets complicated and where Colonel Parker enters it in a way that tells you almost everything you need to know about the tension that ran through Elvis's entire adult life. The books Geller brought were not casual reading. Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, books on theosophy, on numerology, on mysticism, on the Kabbalah. A text called The Impersonal Life, which had also been important to James Dean. Books on the Shroud of Turin, which fascinated Elvis for years. He believed the cloth was real. He spent hours looking at photographs of the face on it, trying to understand what he was looking at. He and Geller would sit in the back of Elvis's limousine or in one of the rooms at Graceland and read to each other. They would stop and talk about what they had read. Elvis would ask questions. He was not a passive reader. He was pushing at ideas, trying to find where they broke down, trying to find where they held. One night in the spring of 1965, Elvis and Geller were driving through the Mojave Desert. It was late. The sky was enormous out there, the way it gets in the desert when you are far enough from any city. Elvis looked up at the clouds, and something shifted in his face. He told Geller he was seeing something, a face forming in the clouds. He said at first it looked like Joseph Stalin, which startled him, and then it transformed, and he said it became the face of Jesus Christ. He was not joking. He was not performing. Geller, who documented this conversation years later, said Elvis was shaken in a way he had rarely seen. Elvis said, "I know this sounds crazy. I know it does, but I saw it. I saw it." He did not talk about this publicly. It was not the kind of thing you said in an interview in 1965, not if you were Elvis Presley and your career depended on a certain kind of image. But privately, he held on to it. It became part of the framework he was building, this complicated inner architecture of belief that pulled from Christianity and Eastern philosophy and numerology and his own stubborn sense that his life had a meaning that no one had been able to explain to him yet. The numerology piece is the one that surprises people most. Elvis believed in the significance of numbers, specifically in how certain numbers followed a person and marked the important moments of their life. He was particularly focused on the number 8. He would trace the numbers in dates, in addresses, in the names of people around him, looking for patterns. He kept a numerology chart. He was not embarrassed by it. He talked about it openly with the people he trusted. And he talked about Jesse. Jesse Garin Presley was Elvis's twin brother. He was stillborn on January 8, 1935, the same day Elvis was born. They were buried, Jesse, in a shoebox in the backyard of the house in Tupelo. Elvis grew up knowing that he had come into the world alongside someone who did not survive it, and that knowledge never left him. He told Geller, and he told others, that he felt he was living 2 lives, his own and the one Jesse never got to have. The success, the fame, the music, the love from all those people in all those arenas, he felt it was for both of them. He kept Jesse close in ways that are difficult to categorize. He talked to him, not every day, not in a literal ongoing conversation, but at significant moments he would acknowledge his brother, the twin who was there at the beginning and gone before it started, the other half of something. Colonel Parker found out about Larry Geller and about the books and about the conversations, and he was furious. Parker called Geller the Swami. He said it mockingly to the other members of the entourage, to anyone who would listen. He believed that Geller was filling Elvis's head with nonsense that had nothing to do with selling records and everything to do with destabilizing a very valuable commercial operation. Parker did not think of Elvis as a man searching for meaning. He thought of Elvis as a product that needed to be protected from distractions. In 1967, Elvis had a motorcycle accident near Graceland. He was not seriously injured, but Parker used the disruption to move. He told the people around Elvis that the spiritual reading, the late-night conversations, the philosophical searching, all of it was making Elvis unfocused and difficult. He pushed for Geller to be removed from the inner circle. He organized what multiple sources describe as the disposal of Elvis's spiritual library. The books were boxed up. Many of them were gone. Elvis did not fight it the way you might expect. He was in a difficult period. The movie years had hollowed something out in him. He had not performed live since 1961. He was going through the motions of a career that no longer felt like his. The books had been a private country he could go to, and now someone had taken the map. Geller came back into his life in the final years. By then it was 1976 and 1977, and Elvis was in serious physical decline, and the conversations they had were different, heavier. Elvis was still asking the same questions he had asked in that salon chair in 1964. He still did not have the answers. He was still reading the Bible every night. There is a recording Elvis made, not a commercial release, not something that was meant to be heard, where he is singing a gospel hymn alone, just his voice and a piano, no band, no production, no audience. He is singing because it was the only language he had that came close to saying what he meant. The 3 Grammys are in the glass case at Graceland. How Great Thou Art is there, with the award beside it. Millions of people walk past it every year. Not everyone stops to read the category. The ones who do sometimes stand there for a long moment, recalibrating something. This was the real center of him. Not the gold suits, not the karate, not the movies. The church in Tupelo, the marked Bible, the twin brother in the backyard, the questions he asked a hairdresser in Los Angeles in April 1964 that he had been asking his whole life and never fully stopped asking. He told Larry Geller on one of their last long conversations, "I have done everything a man is supposed to want, and none of it answered the question." Geller asked him what the question was. Elvis said he was not sure he could put it into words, but he knew what it felt like. It felt like being almost there. Go find the gospel recordings. How Great Thou Art, If I Can Dream, He Touched Me. Put them on and listen to what he sounds like when he is singing in the only direction that ever made complete sense to him. That is the answer he got closest to. That is where he almost arrived.